We are live. We are recording. Welcome to the May 6th version of the Columbia Valley Business Roundtable, hosted by myself, Pete Bourke, Executive Director of the Columbia Valley Chamber of Commerce, and to my right, Jess Fairhart. Jess, you are?
Executive Director with Tourism Radium and the Radium Hot Springs Chamber of Commerce.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. I would just like to begin by acknowledging that we are on the land on which we gather today, wherever you are located. So for Jess and I, it's the traditional unceded territory of the Ktunaxa Nation, the Kiskanook First Nation, and the Shuswap Indian Band. We are grateful to have the opportunity to work in this territory and to call those folks our partners in this region. As I mentioned, we are recording this. It'll be posted after. You're welcome to put your questions in the chat box or by raising your hand. We'll keep an eye on that. And anything that you see presentation-wise from our guests today, either Wendy or Ginger, we'll make those presentations available along with the recording after this session. So don't feel like you're going to miss anything, and you can certainly email us too if you want to have that information. So I'm going to throw it over to Jess to introduce our guests and to get us rolling here.
Awesome. Thanks, Pete. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. A bit of a tourism-specific focus, and I'm really excited to welcome our two guests today. So we have Wendy Van Puymbroeck from Kootenay Rockies Tourism. Wendy is the Manager of Business Development and Special Projects. She's been working really hard over the last few weeks, and she's going to share some of the activities and projects that her and her team have been working on in support of tourism across the Kootenay Rockies region. She's going to share information on the new Tourism Resiliency program, as well as the Roam BC from Home campaign, and also some best practices in terms of social engagement during our current COVID times. Second, really excited to welcome Ginger Brunner. She's a regional HR specialist with Go2HR. For those who aren't familiar, Go2 provides human resources support to the tourism industry. She's going to share health and safety expertise for employers in response to COVID, as well as other supports offered to tourism employers throughout BC. So thanks for joining us, both of you today. Thanks for the great turnout, and I'll turn it over to Wendy to get us kicked off.
Great. So I'm just going to share my screen. Make sure I share the one without the notes, correct, Pete?
Yep, we're good to go. Thanks, Wendy.
Okay. Okay, and excuse me, I'm going to be looking at the other monitor, so I'm not facing the camera as I present today.
Sorry, Wendy, the one with notes is up.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Where did I see that? Screen sharing. Oh, I know. Let me swap the screen. Are we good now?
Use slideshow, I think, on the top.
The notes are on the right.
Are we good now?
Yes.
Good.
Can you still see your notes? Hopefully you can.
Well, I can get through them. I'll just, yes, sorry about that. Sorry about the tech. Again, how many times have we been on Zoom sharing our screen and I still can't get it right? So thank you and good morning, everyone. And a huge thank you to Jessica and Pete for inviting me to present at today's roundtable. I also would like to acknowledge, first of all, that I am presenting to you from the traditional unceded territory of the Ktunaxa people, whom we are honored to work with within this region. 7 weeks ago, we began surveying businesses to provide the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture with valuable business intelligence from the tourism industry. This was done in coordination with the other 5 regional destination marketing organizations, along with the BC Hotel Association and the BC DMOA, the arching body for the community DMOs. This work, which was part of our role within emergency management, led to the creation of the Tourism Resiliency Program. The program will endeavor to demonstrate quality care and assistance to tourism businesses over an estimated 6-month tourism frame and share good news stories and successes as the industry rebuilds and reemerges in a period of economic recovery. We look forward to sharing with you some of the program and tools we're putting in place to support our tourism industry in response to this unprecedented situation we are in as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I do want to begin by saying how deeply myself, our Kootenay Rockies team, as well as our Kootenay Rockies board members have been affected by the toll that COVID-19 has taken on our industry over these past 7 weeks. I've been in tourism for a very long time now, and through many hard times, and including 9/11, SARS, the recession of 2018, and in recent times, the wildfires and floods that we've experienced. But never has there been anything like this, with such widespread, devastating, and unbelievable decimation of an industry we are all so proud of and so passionate about. Our hearts are with all of you, and we truly think our tourism partner relationships and friendships that are spread through all parts of this region are the fabric of our work. We are all like-minded, passionate, and so proud of the beauty, the nature, and the incomparable visitor experiences that we have in the Kootenay Rockies region. We have some core areas of focus as a destination management organization that our efforts are put towards, and they're there on the screen for you. Our work in destination marketing includes travel, trade, and media relations, as well as content, digital, social media efforts. And our work in destination development and destination stewardship is collaborative across the region, with many partners providing input and guidance that has led to 4 planning area strategies and a regional strategy, as well as identifying the need for work in emergency preparedness and management. This work has led to reinforcing and maintaining our unique economic and cultural aspects and the diversification of our tourism sector in our rural region. So our organization for the last 7 weeks during this pandemic crisis has been and will continue to be focused on the 3 phases of response, recovery, and resiliency. And it's during this response phase, the priorities you see on the screen are the ones we will be focusing on. During this period, we have gathered data through surveys to all of our tourism businesses over the past 7 weeks, which has provided us with valuable insight and understanding of what is happening on the ground with the businesses in the region. Our advocacy efforts have focused on bringing the business intelligence forward to the government in the hopes of affecting decisions that are impacting your daily operations. And clearly, we will need to be doing marketing recovery efforts, and we are working closely with Destination BC and our community partners on what this will look like as we move forward to reopen. As I mentioned, we're communicating with government officials as well as industry. We have weekly calls with the community DMOs, daily calls with ministry staff and our regional colleagues at the British Columbia Regional Tourism Secretariat, emergency pre-OC calls, and weekly chats with the Tourism Emergency Management Committee group that includes the Ministry, Indigenous Tourism BC, Tourism Industry Association of BC, Destination BC, and others. But today I'm going to primarily focus on the business recovery and how we are able to support businesses through this program into the recovery phase. So some of the key findings out of the surveys that we have completed are on the screen. Over half of the pre-COVID reservations have been canceled. Almost half of the businesses surveyed are closed, 46%, and almost 30% are operating on reduced hours or reduced services. And at the time that these stats were pulled off, 8,576 employees had been laid off. Many businesses are reporting cancellations well into the year 2021. We heard from businesses that they need help advocating to government on programs. They need relief grants, reduction or elimination of government fees, tax payments, and any aid to reduce fixed costs such as utilities, technology, financing, or rent. We've also seen over recent days that programs are being tweaked. Government programs are being tweaked to address and include some of these issues. So we know that through advocacy work, tourism will stay top of mind with our governing authorities. What businesses do need is help in and support in navigating and pathfinding to services that will help them. and they need streamlined communications on related programming. There is so much information out there now, and it can be challenging for businesses to figure out what the best program is for them at this moment. I'd like to thank and acknowledge all of the partners in this program. The program was initiated under the leadership of Anthony Everett, who is the CEO at Tourism Association of Vancouver Island. He is in partnership with the Island Coastal Economic Trust and has received funding from them to be able to kickstart this program, and also to implement many of the critical pieces and design elements that were needed to make this come to fruition in a very short amount of time. If you weren't already aware, the RDMOs, the regional DMOs, have formed a secretariat. You'll see that's the middle logo, the BCRTS. And they, as a group, have worked collaboratively to find ways to support and enhance our industry across the province, including this particular program. And the Secretariat includes our RDMO partners, Tourism Vancouver Island, Thompson Okanagan Tourism, the Caribou Chilcotin Coast, Northern BC, and of course ourselves. And I do need to make special mention and thank in particular the Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture, the Honourable Minister Lisa Baer, who has been a consummate leader and supporter of tourism, arts and culture, and who has been a supporter of our organization from the beginning. And of course, worthy mention for Destination British Columbia, who is our provincial marketing organization. They will be managing the Vancouver Coast and Mountains area for this particular program. And we'd also like to thank our partners, Indigenous Tourism BC, the BC DMOA, and our community partners in our region, Go2HR, the HR Organization for Tourism, and the BC Hotel Association. Just a quick thank you to all of the partners. So a program summary, the goal is to connect businesses with the support they need. We heard that businesses need help in navigating the many emergency response funding and resources so that they can stay viable during this pandemic. We're here as an organization to provide information, advice, and solutions to help to develop resiliency within our industry. The BC Tourism Resiliency program is designed and delivered for the tourism industry by the tourism industry. We are using sectors' specialized understandings of needs and nuances in order to support the survival of BC tourism businesses. This program will be long-termed, up to 6 months or however long this crisis lasts. And it's aimed at providing meaningful one-on-one support to tourism businesses through the entire journey to eventual recovery. So the first item within the program, the first pillar, is client care. So tourism businesses, once they register on the site, which is listed at the bottom of the screen, will be paired with a program advisor who is a member of the Kootenay Rockies team for the duration of the process. We'll start with a needs assessment, a one-on-one phone call or Zoom call to understand what the business is needing support with. And we will prepare a customized support for each business, which shows them how to navigate the available federal and provincial aid and access, where necessary, to program experts outside of our organization. Experts in finance, human resources is going to be go-to, mental health, and more. And the second pillar within this program is the Digital Resource Hub. So on the main site, tourismresiliency.ca, there will be links to webinars, a regular series of webinars, information bulletins, and additional resources tailored to the needs of tourism businesses. Each region has a 1-800 helpline, and we are actually pleased to be able to offer our program advisor support in both English and French, if requested. However, for the time, the website is English only. So here's a schematic of how this all works. You'll notice it's a cyclical process because we are not going to provide one plan and set you on your way. We're going to continue to to work with that particular business. So our team will lend expertise, leadership, and resources to connect business advisors with the information, advice, and solutions to help them develop resiliency. We're here to support in any way we can for the long term. We will help businesses navigate the opportunities and ensure that they are kept in the loop as new programs are announced or changed. Businesses can register for the program through the URL you see at the top of the screen, and one of our advisors will invite you to set up time to do a business assessment or a discovery call, we call it, and then we will develop a support plan for the business that will help you for the entire period. And if it isn't exactly what that business hoped to receive, we'll put you in the cyclical route again and have another discovery call to see what the needs might be. And again, within this network, we have developed informative webinars, and there is a second one ongoing today. We'll continue to provide webinars that are industry specific on topics, and you can access those in real time through the digital hub. We understand that this situation can and will change and evolve, and so we're looking at this with a long-term lens as we move through the phases of this situation that businesses are in. We also heard the need for clarification around consumer communications and messaging. How can we talk about our businesses but not encourage travel? So we are working in coordination with our regional partners, and we developed a toolkit for businesses with guidelines on marketing and digital communications. Again, it's not safe to travel now, but we hope we can inspire our followers on social media to visit us when the time is right, re-injecting vigor into our industry. And in an effort to offer resources to our incredible business partners in the region, we've compiled guidelines, and we can provide these to you. Just send an email to me, and I can provide you the toolkit of guidelines. You'll note that the hashtag is hashtag RoamBCFromHome, and we're suggesting that that is used in additionally to the Explore BC Later message and any other hashtags that you would want to add. So Roam BC from Home, the program is an important part of supporting the Tourism Resiliency Program. Again, it's complementary to Explore BC Later messaging guidance that's been provided by Destination BC. And the social media collaboration program is based on 5 content themes, as you can see on your screen. So the themes are around culinary and agriculture, local love, artists and artisans, nature, or family at home. If you'd like to receive the toolkit, again, email Wendy at KootenayRockies.com. Destination BC has also produced a best practices guide for creating and showcasing virtual experiences. They're encouraging visitors to dream now and explore BC later, and it's a great way to stay top of mind and maintain engagement with your audience by creating and sharing virtual experiences through your social channels. And virtual experiences are social media posts that bring the sights and sounds of your experience, attraction, or destination to your visitors so that you can enjoy they can enjoy what you have to offer from the comforts of their home. Virtual experiences do not need to be fancy, nor do they require a large budget. All they require is a bit of creativity on your part, access to the internet, a video camera or your phone, and a few minutes of your time. This virtual experiences guide, you can either reach out to me, Wendy at KootenayRockies.com, or it lives on destinationbc.ca under how they're handling COVID. Second to last slide. Finally, to finish off here, I want to say that this is an iterative process. So we will be learning, making mistakes, we will make changes where needed, but the program is designed as tourism professionals doing the best we can to assist other tourism professionals during this crisis time. The program is meant to be complementary to other ongoing ones that are either in place or may be announced. We all have the same goal, and that's for businesses to be sustainable and weather this unprecedented storm. And we see that this program will evolve and could be adapting regularly as the situation calls for changes to be made. So lastly, I wanted to thank our team and our partners who've worked very hard over this last while to pull all of the pieces of this program together in a very short time. You can see on the screen the address to register online, tourismresiliency.ca/KRTRP, or you just look for regions. Or there is the phone call, the phone number, the 1-800 number, if you prefer to book an appointment over the phone. If you need any more information, please Wendy at Kootenay Rockies or info@kootenayrockies.com. And I want to thank you for attending today. And I look forward to working with you in the future and seeing our industry move forward. Thanks again. Was I clear the whole time, I hope?
You're great, Wendy. You did a good job. Thank you. So I'm not sure if we want to jump into a few questions right now, or my recommendation would be maybe have Ginger kind of share what's happening with GoToHR, give you a bit of what's happening there, and then we can jump in questions. And both of our guests today will be able to provide responses or field questions as they come in. Is everyone all right with that? Sounds good in Zoom world. All right, so Ginger, I will turn it over to you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for having us attend this morning. I am just going to share my screen here with you. Can everyone see that okay?
It's coming up. It hasn't arrived yet. There we go.
Okay, good.
Yep.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So again, thanks for having us join the presentation today. I wanted to share with you some information around how we are working. So Wendy's done a fantastic job, and we're really proud to be working with Kootenay Rockies, Wendy and her team in the region to support the resiliency program that Wendy's just shared with you. The information that I'm going to share today is really an overview about how GoToHR is working to support the tourism industry around this time, and as well as the resiliency program that Wendy and her team are offering. So before I get started, I would like to just echo Wendy's comments around the industry. It's a very challenging time for all of you. Certainly our team has seen a direct impact, as well as our board and the folks that we work with, and really our hearts go out to you. I'm not located in the Kootenay Rockies tourism region. I'm actually in the Okanagan, but certainly our hearts are with everyone that's out there, and we continue to support you, and we're here for you. So GoToHR, as Jessica mentioned, we're the Human Resource Association for the BC tourism industry. We're responsible for playing a lead role in executing the BC tourism human resources strategy. We work in partnership with key stakeholders across the province, as well as Work BC. We are the Health and Safety Association for the tourism and hospitality industry. We're an industry-led organization. We really reach out to industry and work closely to make sure that the services that we provide are what industry needs. And we provide human resource and supports for health and safety, as well as customer service training, recruitment and retention assistance, and employment-related policy and legislation. So really provide consultations, supports, and resources and training around those key areas. During the time of COVID, I mean, this has certainly provided a challenge for many of us. We're working hard to continue to reach out to industry and provide supports to many business owners that really that focus has shifted from really the labor shortages that we've been dealing with for quite a while to now just keeping the doors open. And we are again supporting the resiliency work that Wendy and her team are doing, and providing direct support through being that HR expert, pardon me, that the resiliency programs are reaching out to. So providing one-on-one consulting not only to the program advisors within the Resiliency program and providing support and expertise to their program advisors so that they can then respond back to the key stakeholders, the employers, and incorporate that information back into the plans that they're receiving through the Resiliency program. We're also continue to provide direct one-on-one meetings and consultations with employers. So if they don't need some of the other resources that are provided through the Resiliency program, and they just want somebody to talk to directly with regards to their HR and health and safety needs, then certainly that's a support that we continue to offer, as well as our online resources, which I'll show you in just a minute. We continue to share as well best practices that are happening across industry. So we do have an industry newsletter that you can certainly sign up for. And through that newsletter, we share information about the most recent happenings and information about health and safety and HR related to the tourism industry, but then also any new releases or information guidelines that we have come out, we share that through that distribution list as well. So I would encourage, if you don't already subscribe to the Go2HR corporate newsletter, then please do so. You can email me directly. I've got my contact information at the end of the presentation if you're interested in that. So in response to inquiries, what we have done is, I'll just share with you now some of the resources that we have online. We have created pages on our website to help employers address each of the key areas. So we've got resources for health and safety, which I'll show you in a second, the FAQs for human resources, and then listings for specific HR resources. These resources have all been vetted by our team. We continue to build them. We look at them daily. We add new resources and information as it comes about. As you can imagine, those first few weeks were a bit of a flurry. The information is here, but we continue to look at it on a daily basis and make sure that the information is up to date. The first section that I thought I would just show you here is our tourism FAQs. So we have a range of topics that we've included in the FAQs. This page is added and it is an FAQ format. You can click on any of the topics here at the top. It'll take you down to the lower part of the page. And then any questions that we have received with regards to HR inquiries, including many of the government benefit programs that are out there. We get a lot of questions around that, how some of the programs can stack on each other, whether or not they can, if there's any changes to employment related legislation. We've included all of that information in these FAQs. So a great first response for tourism employers to go to, if they have questions around those pieces, would be this page. I would encourage you to check it out if you haven't already. The additional information that we provide is a list of HR resources. So sometimes you don't want to read through the FAQs, but you'd like to just go to a specific topic, and that's what we've provided for in the HR and the health and safety pages on our site. So these are quick reference resources. You can just jump to, if you're looking for mental health supports, you can just jump to that section and it will actually just give you a list of quick links that you can access. We've done similar from a health and safety perspective, and just to give you a quick look, these are the topics that we've provided for from a health and safety perspective. And again, if you go down to each of the sections, then you can see that there's a complete list. And rather than providing, an overview, we've just given you the link, and then you can go to that quick reference page. The links we've chosen are direct links to the quickest and most succinct information that you can find. There's a lot of information out there right now, so we've really worked hard to choose information that really is going to be the key focus for tourism and hospitality employers. In addition to these resources, Go2HR is also part of a new council called the BC Tourism and Hospitality Best Practices Council. That council is made up of industry stakeholders across the province, the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Tourism, as hospitality and arts, as well as the key stakeholders, the BC Tourism Industry Association, the Hotel Association, and we also have an advisory committee of industry employers. And that council is also working, as Wendy mentioned, on looking forward and putting together guidelines and practices that employers can then use when they are ready to getting ready to open the doors, and know what they need to have in place in order to safely do so, not only for their guests but also for their employees. So again, that if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, I would encourage you to do so. Information will be shared out as it becomes available. Our health and safety team is also working on putting together some reopening guidelines for various sectors in the industry. So again, you'll have some checklists and some tools available to you that you can use to get ready for that reopening period. In addition to these resources, we've also made a key change within the Go2HR job board. Many of you may be familiar with the job board. It is the only job board in BC that is previously specifically only for the tourism and hospitality industry. We recognized a need early on that with so many employees being laid off, as Wendy mentioned, over 8,000 just in the Kootenay Rockies region, that there are people that are looking to find another way to make some income. And there's certainly sectors of the industries out there that are struggling to find people. So what we did is we opened our job board on a temporary basis to those sectors that we found and we're hearing have the greatest need, those being agriculture, of course, the health care and retirement residences, retail, as well as transportation. So transportation being delivery companies and food delivery companies. So we've opened our job board. So if you or anyone you know that is outside of tourism is looking to recruit at this time and they're struggling, know that they can certainly register and post jobs for free on the Go2HR job board. We're doing what we can, and we really hope to make those connections between the job seekers that are looking for work and those industries, in addition to tourism, that are currently recruiting and struggling to find workers. I was on a call yesterday, and certainly one thing that we see is that during downtime, when people are not working and businesses again are looking to perhaps find some additional resources, I wanted to just let you know that we do provide training resources. If you are looking for industry, if it's industry specific training, we do provide training for free for industry. So there's a number of WorkSafe BC related information guides. So if you're bringing new people onto your team, if you're finding that you want to provide some added training at no cost for your employees, then certainly there are some resources available, and I'm just showing you a few here on the screen. Foundations of Workplace Safety is a frontline program that's for people that are new to the industry. We have a program, Fundamentals, and then of course Superhost. So there are programs available, and it's just a matter of being ready, and whenever that time is right for your organization, and know that there are, again, that wealth of resources available by us and our team. And again, whether that's online, whether that's in person, hopefully soon, over the phone, but certainly by video right now, our team in HR and health and safety, we're here to support, and we're happy to provide any assistance or answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks so much, Ginger. Yeah, thanks to Go2HR, Kootenay Rockies Tourism, both of your teams. As Pete and I shared with you, we kind of have a working group, and all of the service support and information that you've been sharing with the, our DMOs through the community DMOs, it's been really helpful in us being able to support our businesses during this time. So thanks again for all the work that you've been doing. So now it's time to you guys. I'd like to open the floor to questions in general, specific to Wendy's program or Ginger's work. We'd love to hear from you guys.
And just while people are thinking of those great questions, I'm going to throw to a previous guest, Michael from Export Navigator, really quickly. He just wanted to share some new details, I think, or some updated details about the BASE and Rev Up program. So folks, while you're thinking of those great questions for our panel today, Michael is just going to share some thoughts on the BASE and Rev Up program.
Yeah, thanks so much, Pete. Thanks so much, Jessica. Great calls as always. Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Hoher. For those that don't know me, I live in Nelson. I'm I wear two functions. One is 2 weeks ago, I believe, I was on your call to share with you Expert Navigator, which is a provincially and Government of Canada um, funded program free of charge. Today, what I want to share with you is a program from the Columbia Basin Trust. It's called RevUp. It's been around for about a year and a half. And what it is entrepreneurs in residence, there's currently 4 of us, are paired with clients, meaning businesses like yourselves across the basin. And so we work one-on-one with you on a number of business-related situations. Usually, it's a 6 to 8 month scope of work mutually established at the beginning of the engagement, and then we work through this over that period. Usually, there's 2 EIRs paired with an entrepreneur or a team, husband and wife team, happens quite often also. And then we just work through all kinds of business issues. Now, in regards to COVID right now, what the Columbia Basin Trust has established is that the program fees are suspended until further notice. The engagements are going to be a little bit shorter, up to 8 weeks. They are free of charge. It's businesses with revenues over $1 million or 8+ employees during 2019, so not during this time, but previously. It's truly high impact, transformational. The entrepreneurs in residence, like myself, I'm joined by various other entrepreneurs. We have all had or have our own businesses of varying scales. Some of us, or actually most of us, have exited businesses, grown businesses, exited businesses. So there's a huge knowledge base kind of thing, I would say. We also have a chartered professional accountant on our team of executives in residence, which is extremely helpful for financial management issues, improving processes around that topic and whatnot. So essentially what I wanted to share with you today is just that program exists, that program is around, it is free of charge right now. I'm putting in the chat box right now just my contact details, the link to the program on the Trust website, and just a few pointers as to what it is all about, so that you can follow up with me. If you are interested, maybe just send me your email through the chat box, Michael Hoher, and then I can follow up with you after the call with more information. And by the way, to some of you, I absolutely love your virtual backgrounds. It's like in the absence of traveling myself, and you see the globe behind me, the world map. This is great.
Perfect. Thank you, Michael. Thanks so much for adding that today.
Thank you.
Again, a reminder, folks, maybe raise your hand on your participant profile virtually, or type or note your question in the chat, and we will get that flagged for you to ask. Question I have for Ginger, a lot of what we're hearing right now is the struggle of the programs that are absolutely needed and essential for employees right now is starting to maybe outweigh their desire to come back to work. So from an HR and employment standpoint, do you have any advice to help employers navigate that in regards to, inviting their employees back, making sure that they feel safe to come back, and perhaps what needs to happen if there's an unfortunate scenario where there's maybe a difference of opinion in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for asking. That's one of the key questions that we're getting right now. Employees are doing fairly well for the time being in plugging into the programs that are available. They are weighing that against whether or not they want or can go to work. One thing that we're really letting employers know and reminding employers is that it's really not an option. If you have employees laid off currently and you have work for them and they are in a position where you're recalling them from a layoff, under employment standards legislation, employees can't refuse that layoff unless there is a very good reason to do so. COVID times are, of course, throwing a bit of a skew into how things are. So, you know, certainly encouraging caution around employee recalls right now. But there's a couple of things that employers can do. So firstly, reminding employees that they do have a duty to return back to work. If the employee is telling you, I don't want to come back to work because I have been exposed to COVID, I'm taking care of a child and I don't have childcare, or any of the other reasons that would, you know, essentially qualify them for the CERB or the Canada Emergency Response Benefit. The challenge for employers is that the requirements of proof to be eligible for the CERB are really loose, and I say that cautiously. They are developed as they are because the government really wanted to get the money to people. They wanted to have as few barriers as possible, and in doing that, there is a certain amount of honesty that's required in the application process. So there is nothing to say technically that an employee that wants to stay home and collect their benefits, they certainly can tell the employer that you know what, I am in that position, and really we have to support that through the COVID leave through employment standards that's been introduced. However, the other things that you can do is remind employees that they can make up to $1,000 and still collect the CERB benefit. So if you have only a few hours for them to come back, you know, encourage them to do so. The other is really communicating for employees around what you're doing to make it a safe workplace for them. If they have said, I'm not coming back because it's unsafe, employees do, under WorkSafe BC legislation, have the ability to refuse, the right to refuse unsafe work. And then there is a very clear process under WorkSafe BC guidelines that employers need to follow, and that information is available on our site, but it's all, you know, feel free to give me a call as well. So if the employee says they're unsafe, you've got to follow WorkSafe BC policy. If they purely are saying, you know what, I just don't want to come back, then some things that employers can do is, again, clearly communicate what you're doing to create that safe environment for them to come back. And in some cases, you may want to extend and, where possible, let employees know and maybe adjust some flexibility for them. So whether that's you know, offering some adjusted flex time, if you have an employee assistance program or benefits that you can extend to them, anything that you can do to really create that workplace culture that employees want to come back to. The other piece is that CERB is going to come to an end eventually, and we don't want people left high and dry without benefits or a way to return back to work. So even if it's a gradual return back in for them, working with them, keeping in mind childcare needs and specific situations, then, you know, doing your best to communicate with employees and encourage them back is what you can do right now. Lots of nuances in there, Pete. Sorry.
A lot of variables and a lot of ways that those scenarios can go. But thanks so much, Ginger, and I'm sure with your contact details, people can reach out and you can help them find the answers case by case.
Absolutely.
A couple of questions in the chat box here. And Patrick, I might suggest if you wanted to verbally expand on your question. Patrick Tolchild from Radium, are there plans in place for support to support the businesses that cannot practice social distancing? Patrick, do you want to just expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm in the zipline industry, so, you know, we are hands-on with our customers. We have to be, because we have to check their gear, check their equipment, you know, if we have to rescue them if they get stuck on a line. So I'm just wondering, you know, obviously there's the press release today about reopening, but if social distancing has to happen, you know, I can't operate. And if I have no income this summer, like, are there plans in place to support the businesses that are going to be in those situations? Or has that conversation been brought up at all in the industry? So.
Wendy or Ginger, I can, if one of you want to weigh in on that. Patrick, my only my thought on that would be it's going to probably come through Work BC. And we run a BC Chamber call yesterday with some provincial higher ups from WorkSafe BC. And they essentially kind of said they're going to count on industry to come up with their own solutions as well and to work together on a solution. And I know there was an example brought up on that call and a different call around like a climbing gym. So similar kind of scenario where how do you possibly sanitize 20 or 30 feet up in the air after everybody climbs a wall, and those kinds of things. So I would say it's probably going to be directed at a Work BC as an initial starting point for you. And it's definitely going to segue or come into play from the announcements today. But I see Wendy unmuted herself. She might have some thoughts on that too.
No, I was going to say, we've been coached not to give on-the-spot advice, to make sure we've done our full research first. So I don't have a firm answer to that, other than I do know some sector groups are working together to, I mean, golf is a key student of that. You know, they've come up with some measures that the province has accepted and are therefore able to close. So I didn't catch your industry at first. I'm sorry, I missed that, Patrick.
Yeah, I'm in the zipline industry, and we got an email from TSBC yesterday saying that if they hear any operators opening for the foreseeable future, they'll be reporting them for immediate closure. So I'm just unsure of what to do right now. So.
Yes, and so there isn't really a sector organization that you can tap into, I guess. Ziplining is fairly new. We will, you're welcome to register for our program, because it's then that triggers us to do some research. I should have had such an answer top of mind, but I think we're all deferring to the health authorities on what they say can and cannot be done. And we have to be able to present them with a plan on this is the way we're going to do it. So I'm not sure if there's going to be support for people that cannot find any way to run their business on social distancing.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah, Patrick, I would encourage to reach out to WorkSafe BC and at least flag that for them. And then just even if you can speak to some of your industry connections and partners, like even some of the folks on the island that may be dealing with the same situation, and just come up with a handful of best practices that you would recommend from an industry standpoint, and see if, to Wendy's point, see if they could consider those as something that they can adopt.
I'm just
going to go, I see Ian's hands up. So I'm wondering, Ian, do you have a comment along the same lines with regards to operators who might not be able around social distancing? I thought I'd throw it over to you.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Yeah, thanks for hosting the meeting. Ian from Kootenay River Runners. Sort of similar to what Patrick is talking about, we run a whitewater rafting company on 3 locations, and we have an organization, the BCROA, covering all rafting companies across British Columbia, and we're in that process of trying to figure out how to do that, because obviously social distancing in a raft, despite some of our competitors' suggestions, it's pretty tough, right? Everything's pretty hands-on. We've had some suggestions of wearing masks, guests and guides wearing masks, which of course is absolutely ridiculous in a water situation, if anybody ever fell out. My big thing, and I think this probably would apply to Patrick as well, is there any word on, and has the government, obviously their stages to opening up, and from everything I see, the group tourism isn't even being mentioned right now. So is there any information on when is the most likely time frame for that? Because we're in a stage right now where, number one, we have to let we have 20 employees. We have to let them know where we're at, right? Whether we're bringing them back or not. Not to mention, in our circumstance, we have to license buses and get everything ready. And if it's a possibility that we're not running, it's really tough for us to spend all that money getting going when it comes down the line and they say you're not going. So we're already losing money by not opening, but we're going to lose way more money by getting ready to open in the long run if it's going to be called off. So is there any word that it's July, beginning of July, mid-July, not at all, or I guess is my question, sorry.
Perfect. Ginger, I think, had a comment too, maybe in regards to Patrick, but also Ian's question. Ian, I think the only, and it's not going to come as any comfort to you, but the only thought I would have on that is it's going to be contingent on how numbers track. If we soften restrictions and the curve goes back up, then it's going to go back to lockdown. And if they soften restrictions and can maintain that curve, then I think we'll start continuing to go back to business as usual. I know that's an impossible scenario to kind of plan around. And I know on the call there was a town hall call with the opposition leader yesterday, Andrew Wilkinson, and the call for especially tourism businesses to have non-debt specific resources available to them, where they're not taking on more debt by way of a loan and whatnot, was certainly raised and flagged from a support from the province standpoint. But go ahead, Ginger, with some comments.
Thanks, Patrick. Just to your question earlier, the Health and Safety, Tourism Health and Safety Best Practices Council that I mentioned earlier has an industry stakeholder group, and I do know that there is a zipline operator sitting in that stakeholder group. So certainly that your voice from from an industry sector perspective is at that table. So the guidelines and hopefully some of the work to come out of that council will come available to you and be of help in your group. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we work really closely with WorkSafe BC, particularly the folks that are connected to the tourism industry. So I will certainly let them know just around the zip line, and certainly Ian, for you as well, just around the rafting. Certain those physical distancing pieces are really tough for you guys. So we'll make sure that that Work BC is aware and that we've had this conversation during today. Okay, so I'll take that for you.
Ian, I just wanted to confirm, did you have anything else to add to that, or are you good?
Oh yeah, sorry. The big thing is, and thanks Pete for the answer, is if there is any word, the sooner we can know that we can or cannot have a season. And I know that the numbers things is going right, but if all of a sudden the projection goes that group tourism such as ziplining and rafting, the best possible scenario is mid-July. These are things that we sort of need to know, because again, generally we would be firing up already. I would be doing training next week for our guides, our rookie guides, sorry. Our office would already be going, and we've already pushed that back to mid-June. But there's a point where we can only push it back so far when it's not viable for us to run, of course. Which is, again, we're accepting that and stuff. But the sooner we know, just even ballpark, like, hey, this type of tourism, best case scenario, mid-July or beginning of July. And that's, if anybody hears about it, we'd love to know, just because that gives us a little, number one, to I feel bad for our guides, and our employees. We have to let them know, keep them in the loop, because obviously they're in limbo as well. Anyways, thanks very much.
Great, thanks, Ian. We will, I think that's a takeaway for KRT and the tourism sector in general, because that's a provincial-wide industry side of things. Jess, do you see any other questions? I know there's a couple more questions in the chat, so I was just trying to monitor. Did you see one in there that you wanted to find?
I don't think we have anything. Let's go back to it. There's a question from Sasha. Does anyone know of loans or assistance available for businesses without employees and under 500,000 in income? I'm not sure if registering with Wendy in the Tourism Resiliency project will be able to help pathway some of those specifics. So Wendy, as an example, is this the type of question, and is this the type of support that would be available through your program?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Again, because by registering with us, telling us what your questions are, gives us a little bit of time to do some research for you. I'm not the only loan I'm aware of is that $40,000 federal government through banks loan. So yeah, Sasha, I'd welcome you. We'll get back in touch with you right away if you just register on that tourismresiliency.ca site.
And Sasha, I'll work on some additional resources and go back through the list that Pete and I have collected and see if I can find any qualifying loans or supports, and I'll drop you an email with that.
Sasha, have you looked at the CBT programs and the Community Futures East Kootenay programs? CBT, we're doing up to $25,000, and Community Futures East Kootenay, we're doing up to $20,000. And I think both of those, by having them through a local lens, allows a bit more customization and a bit more of an assessment from a local perspective. So definitely I would reach out to each of those organizations and to see if it's a fit for you. I would be surprised if they couldn't come up with a creative solution to help you access financing. Also through the Basin Business Advisors program would be another good place to put that question to in terms of a loan product. And folks, we are almost at the end of the call. We're going to stay on a few more minutes just to make sure we have everybody's questions answered, as long as our hosts are okay for just a couple of minutes after 12 o'clock. Wendy and Ginger, you're both okay? Yep. Kyla Lamb has a question in here. Can an employee agree to come back to work if they get hazard pay? Kyla, do you want to expand on that question?
Well, this is coming actually from one of my clients. And so they have implemented the work safe. They're not in the tourism industry, but I thought the HR person might be able to help a little bit or point me in the right direction. So they have taken the appropriate work safe BC precautions, and they were called back to work, and they said they would only come back to work if they get hazard pay. Is that a real thing? Or is that an easy question?
So there's a couple of things. So if the employee is feeling safe to return to work, then certainly I wouldn't refer to it as hazard pay, but perhaps a pay incentive or an additional pay to, incentivize people to come back to work. Certainly employers can do that. What I would encourage, if that's what you choose to do, is provide clear communication around the fact that that may be for a specific period of time, and provide some clear dates or time frames so that the employee knows what to expect, because you don't want to come to the end of a period and say, okay, you're no longer receiving that, and they weren't aware of it. The other is make sure that you document that. So provide them a letter and just say, hey, thanks for coming back. We really value you. We're going to give you some extra, we're going to top up your wage during this difficult time, but that it is only for a specific period of time.
So in this case, the employer is not in a position to increase their wages. So if the employer can't offer more pay as the person, and the person won't come back to work unless they get more pay, are they considered to have quit then?
If they're recalling them from a layoff and there's no, and they haven't claimed that they're unsafe, then yes. The caveat on that is if the employee is saying that they feel that it's unsafe to go back to work, then they need to follow the WorkSafe BC guidelines around the right to refuse unsafe work. There is a process to that. Okay. It's a very clear process, and if they do get to the end of that process, and WorkSafe BC is involved and finds that they have no reason to refuse work because the employer is mitigated and providing a safe workplace, then they could eventually come to a point where they exhaust their right to refuse and they do need to go back. So it can be a bit of a process. So I would have them check out the right to refuse unsafe work.
Perfect, thank you.
Tyler, I'll just add my experience with layoffs in general are the employee basically has to come back in an equal position as to what they were laid off for. So I don't think there's any onus on the employer to elevate that position, that they just have to simply offer the existing position when they come back. And a layoff is designed to protect that employee, to give them essentially first right of refusal to come back. So I can't lay somebody off and then go and hire someone else into that exact role without giving that employee the chance to come back. So there's a bit of a dance around that for sure. But from an employer standpoint, I don't think there'd be any requirement for them to increase compensation, or unless their role was changing. and they were going into a different position when they came back, and then of course that's a new agreement.
Yeah.
Ginger, does that sound about right?
Yeah, it certainly does. So there is no requirement to provide pay. And the reason I'm hesitant around hazard pay is because if you are giving hazard pay, then to me that essentially says that the employer is recognizing that it's unsafe work. So I would just really encourage that work safe process. The other is, don't forget that the government just recently extended that layoff period. It used to be 13 weeks you had to recall. It's now 16. So that gives you a few extra weeks.
That's great. Thanks so much for all the great questions and answers. It's just after 12 here, and to respect anyone's time, I'd like to put it out there. Does anyone else have any questions that they would like to ask our guests for today? Okay. Barring none, I just want to say again, thank you to Wendy, thank you to Ginger. Thanks to Pete for helping us coordinate this table. It's been really great to see so many people on this call. We will be sharing Wendy and Ginger's presentations with you. It will have all the contact information. And I also do have the Roam BC from Home package that I can include. So if people are keen, either reach out to me, Jessica at radiumhotsprings.com, or we'll also include the Roam BC package as part of the information that we send out as a wrap up from this meeting. So I'm not sure if there's anything else from your end, Pete, but from my end, thank you everyone for joining us, and we look forward to talking to you all soon.
No final comments from Ginger or Wendy? I don't think anyone else. Wendy, you're getting the thumbs up. Ginger? Thank you again. Yeah, to echo Jess's thoughts, thanks to both of you for joining us, and thanks everyone for making the time. And please keep those questions coming. If we know what everyone's circumstances are, we'll have a better chance of solving those problems collectively with you. So thanks so much, folks. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for having us. Bye-bye.